Hi everybody and welcome to day 18 of building a Delorean time machine in just 20 days. Today we're going to be looking at a lot of the interior of the car and getting the wiring done in there. I've got a few little elements just to build, so I'll show you what I'm going to be building in a minute on the workbench and then we'll get into the interior. Right, hi guys, so I'm going to be looking at this, which is the heatsink, along with this microchip and then some of these little transformers we have. Now, what I'm going to be doing is bonding these onto this. I'm just popping the pins out the back so they sit flush on this unit. But I'm going to be putting 3 of these on here, if you can see that. I'll focus it. So 3 of these little things onto this. The center one's got a little bit of black with 2 small sections, so I'm going to make that now. I'm going to be using these little bits, so they go on. Wow, my camera really isn't focusing today. Maybe it's as cold as I am. And yeah, I'll get those stuck on, and the wires are going to go through that and touch these 2. So give me a minute, and I will be right back with this put together, and then we can place it in the car properly. Hi guys, so I thought I'd show you this as well. So you can see on camera there, I've cut the head off the screw. So what it means is that I can almost do that. I can put 2 screws on something, but actually there's nothing on the back. So it means when I have these positioned and they're glued in place, it'll look as if it's screwed in, but actually there's nothing on the back. So I'm just going to put these together and I'll be right back and show you the end result. Hey everyone, so I've just glued this all together and dirtied it up a little bit, so I thought I'd show you what it looks like. So if I bring it close to the camera, you can see we've got the microchip with our little resistors on the bottom. We've got our transistors in there with our little screws. Then we've got our 2 little metal caps which hold on to our wires. So that going in the car should look pretty cool. And obviously flat on the bottom, so I can put a bit of our film tack and stick that down. And then these will run down the back and join into the rest of the wiring. So I'll put this in the car and I'll show you what it looks like. Right, so we've got this little unit and it sits just in the middle. Just in the middle here. And actually the back section of it is in line with the back. And then the front just sticks on like so. Now these just run down and then we end up losing these inside there for the minute. So if I do that, I should be able to get a little bit of movement in there just to pop them in there for a second. Yeah. So they just go over the top like that. They've got a little bit of bounce in them. That's it. So that is that microchip in position. And I'll show you what it looks like from the dash. There you are. So it doesn't look too bad. And then what we're going to do next is I've got a terminal strip to go on here, which I believe is one of these. And on the film car, sorry for the moving around so much. On the film car, there are 9 wires coming out. So when you get these terminal strips, the vintage ones, with these little marks in between, you want to make sure that you get 9, not some of the real old school ones, which are 8. So I'm missing one. So this is the correct one for the car. So we'll get the little terminals that go on these, and then we'll line that up, and I'll get the cables in. Right, guys, so I've got my little terminal strip with some fixings on, so that'll actually be going on the dash up here in the car. So what I'm going to do is actually attach wires to this first and then put it in the car, because it's really hard to try and get in between the windscreen and that. So I'll get that done first, and I'll come right back. I'm also putting this cable in first, so I'm going to have it wrapping from underneath here. It's going to go along the dash, in between the Rowan contactors and the back of the time circuits, and then it's going to go round the speedo boxes and then back down the binnacle and back under. So I'll get this threaded in and show you after. So I've just put this first hose in here as well while I'm cutting it all. So luckily enough, it does just squeeze in because it's foam rubber. So it looks like a fat cable, but actually it's this soft foam. So it's very malleable, it's bendy, but also it looks like a heavy duty hose. So I've now done the one in the windscreen, which runs down around the back of there and across. And I've just applied that one into there, which looks good. So this one, there's a bunch of color cables coming out of. These two have little black wires coming out, so I'll run those down. And then same up there, we've got color wires, mostly orange, red and yellow out the top, quite a lot of blue and maybe one or two purple. And then the two black hoses that run down. So I'll get those in. And then we also have another piece of conduit that runs along there and a little bit between there and that there and the flux capacitor. So I'll cut those in as well now. Right, there we have our first glam box all connected. So we've got our smaller cables coming out the top with yellow tape and red tape on the top. Then we've got our fat hose for the bottom, and then this coloured one. We've got a few yellows, reds, and oranges with a single blue, which is kind of what the reference photos look like. Then just runs along the bottom of the car to the front. And then we'll have more that will come along and tuck underneath, so it will look like it's a continuous. And I'll tuck that behind that bit of carpet, out of sight, and then it should just blend in. So yeah, we'll have it continuing down and under, so it will look like it's continuing through. But there we go, that's the first bit. I'll now start on getting the wires. Maybe I'll do that gland next, and then that sort of completes the back section. Also need to get on with that oxygen tank, so we'll do that today as well, and I'll show you how we attach that. Everyone, so I need to get this fitted onto here. So I've got some Jubilee clips here. And what I've simply done is drilled a hole in the back and I put some marks down. So what I'm going to do is just screw these onto there directly, 3, and then I should be able to slide this in and tighten it up. I'll show you what it looks like after. Right, everyone, so I've got the oxygen tank in. I've also put this in. It's just a bit of cable, but it looks like the oxygen wire. And yeah, that's the back section of the car. Pretty much complete. I need that little elbow still I'm trying to locate, but everything else I think looks really good. And that just finishes it off on that section. So very happy with that. Hey guys, so I've just done this terminal box as well, so I thought I'd show you what I've done. So we've got our 2 separate cables, one with a red band on, and then we've got a lot of cables coming out the top of here. Now the top one has a lot of orange, a few yellow and a few red, and then the one underneath that overlaps across it has got a load of blue, a few grey and a purple wire. So that's that section. It does look very bright, so I might try and dirt that wire a little, but that is pretty much what the A car looks like. I'll see if I can do a snapshot and add it onto this video. But now that's complete. Nearly all the bulkhead is done, apart from that one hose I'm still trying to find. But now I can move back onto the dash. So I've got obviously this nice big chunky black one going through, wraps around there and back along. So now I can put the terminal strip on with wires coming out one side. They come along the other side and they run down past the radio and along here. So I'll get that installed, and then we'll get the wires coming out the back of here, the wires that run along and go out the back of the Rowan as well. So I've just hooked this up on the dash. I've got it at the correct angle for the car, and I've run the first set of wires coming this way, and they wrap around the front of the dash and they just tuck underneath. So it should look eventually, when there's more wires connected, almost as if they go down and back along. And that is tight enough that it won't stop the door from closing, because the door hits here. So when you are installing it, you need to make sure you're on this side of the pad. But yeah, that's the first bit. I'll now continue running these ones down and along, and I will give you a little shout after. Also, just so in case anyone needs to know, on the A car it goes double red, double grey, double black, double yellow and a single grey, and then it repeats the same pattern on the other side and it flows down. So yeah, give me a minute and I will just finish that. Hi guys, right, so I've got that top section on, and then it runs down and along and tucks underneath. So I'm just going to do the cables coming out of the Rowan and the ones that run along the back there now. But it's slowly coming together. Hi everyone, so I'm leaving it there on the wiring today. I've ran out of red wire. I've done 200 meters of red cable and 200 meters of yellow. So I've ordered some more, it's coming tomorrow, so I'll finish that up. But as you can see, we've got the terminal strip, we've got it all wired underneath both sides of the dash. I've matched all of these to the Hero car photo, so everything should be in the right place. It's so cold in here that my wires aren't as malleable as they usually are, so hopefully tomorrow it'll be a bit warmer in here and everything will just settle, which is what I need. But we also got the flange and this flange done. We got the oxygen tank finished, which is good. And I think what I'll do before we leave, I'll pop that off. That's the center console for the steering wheel. We will get the let's stand that up. We will get the 3 switches in the front of that before I go today. And yeah, we'll see you guys in a minute. Hey guys, excuse the mess. It has been a very, very chaotic day today. A lot of wires, a lot of glue, a lot of everything. So I'm just marking out on here my my holes for my switches. Now on the Delorean, you have 1 green and 2 red switches. So what I've done, I've used this little tool because it allows me to get bang on measurements. So really, really handy if you want to get, you know, exact or even internal sizes. They're really, really cool. But anyway, so I put a piece of tape on there. I don't know if you can see that. And what I've done is I've measured these out. And we've got 1 green on the left, which sits there, and then 2 red switches. Now, it's really hard to find the vintage ones, so I've got modern ones, and what I've done is I've put them through a machine buffer and just taken off the modern markings that you get on them, so they look more vintage because the old ones don't have the markings on. So very little detail, but it looks nicer when it's all together. So what I'm going to do now is use a scalpel. So please make sure if you use a scalpel, be extra careful. These are surgical blades and they can slice your finger off. So all I'm going to do is slice very carefully these 3 sections out. So I'll come back to you in a minute when I've done that. Hi guys, so I've taken the front off of here, if you can see. Now what I've got to do is get the back off, which is a harder rubber. So I've used a drill and I've drilled the 4 corners out, if you can see there. And because this stuff's so hard, what I end up doing is using a flamethrower, heating up the blade until it's red, and then very carefully trying to slice it through, and it melts the plastic away. If I get it just right, it should cut those out nicely without too much of an issue. It just takes a little while to get through before the blade cools. So I'm going to do that and I'll come back in a minute. Hi guys, so I've got my 2 red ones in and I'm just about to put the green one in. So that's all lined up nicely. You can see the switches on the back. I've had to cut through all this plastic and yeah, they look all right. So I'm just going to make sure that all the switches are around the same way, just so you get the same shadows and stuff, but it should. There we are. Pop straight in. And there we have, on camera, our switches in our steering wheel hub. Now, what you can do is you can get 12-volt versions of these switches, and you can hide a 12-volt battery in here and wire it up so that these light up if you wish. The film car didn't light up, so I don't do it, but some people do. It's a fun little addition, and it's something you can do later on if you get 12-volt switches. Right, if I get in, line that up, we should be able to. That's usually where you can hide a battery. It does clunk around unless you try and pad it out a little, and hopefully this should fit back in. Here we are. That's back on the steering wheel. We've got some fun little switches that match the film car. So I'm going to leave it there for today. We've done really, really well. We've managed to get, obviously, the steering wheel done. We've got a lot of the wiring in. We've managed to do the rear grommets and everything. So I'll go around the car now and pinpoint the things that we'll try and do on day 19. Right, so thought I'd just show you, we've got loads of cables running around. We then have the correct cables going into these, even the red one going between, and then all the cables on the top there running around across to there. But inside, it looks pretty good. So I've got more red cables because we need more to come down here with another hose, and I've got 1 or 2 red coming out of the Rowan contractors up there, but we've got all the orange cables there and blue, and we've done the oxygen tank today, which is good. So that's in, and that's looking nice with a little gauge on it and everything. So a lot of detail. And yeah, if I run around this side quick, it is really coming together. There we go. So we can see in here we've got loads more wires and cables. I've got a metal cable coming down here tomorrow, and then we'll have a few more bits of wire coming out. As you can see, there's a few empty terminals there which should be red, and then we've got a little bit more that comes along there and then joins onto that. And then here we've got all of our nice cables there matching all the film stuff. So yeah, really happy with that. That's a good day. And yeah, I'll walk around the car now and we'll pick a few bits for us to do tomorrow. Hi guys, so I'm really happy with the front of the car. I think it looks really good. I'm happy with the mesh, and I'm happy with all of the flux boxes. So tomorrow we'll try and just use a bit of our airbrush, and we'll put some little burn marks onto all of these and do a bit of detail like that. Then we've got on the back of the car, I still need to just kind of dirty it up a little bit, and once again I've got to do all the markings on here, so they're like little flame marks, but everything else looks good. We do have, which we'll do tomorrow, between these two, we've got 3 little cables, or 3 little purple clamps that go up here. This cable goes into there, goes along here and back along, and we have additional cables. So I'll get that done tomorrow, because that'll be another good thing to get out the way as a little additional. And then yeah, it's pretty much 1 or 2 little bits, and we're pretty good to go. So I'm really happy with how the car is coming along, and I think this time tomorrow, fingers crossed, if all goes well, we should be nearly done, and then it's just clean it all up for day 20. So yeah, thanks for sticking with us today. I know it was a bit of an odd one, and it was just cabling, but it was good to get it done, and I think that's starting to really look good. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there. And yeah, so really happy. Glad you guys are sticking with me on this. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.